I still remember the fluorescent lights buzzing above the conference room that Monday morning. My hands were slightly damp as I opened my laptop during our weekly stand-up meeting. I had spent 3 months building something I truly believed in, a scheduling tool that could cut overtime costs by 18%. I had tested it, refined it, and watched it work beautifully on my own time. Grant, my manager, sat at the head of the table with his arms crossed. He had that look on his face, the one that said he was already bored before I even started talking. The rest of the team settled into their chairs, coffee cups in hand, waiting for the meeting to begin. I took a breath and started my pitch. I've been working on a lightweight scheduling prototype that analyzes shift patterns and reduces overtime waste. Based on my testing, it can save us about 18% in labor costs. Grant's face twisted into a smirk. Then he laughed. Not a polite chuckle, but a full, mocking laugh that echoed off the walls. You. Product. Come on, Maya. Be serious. He waved his hand dismissively. Put this Pinterest app away and focus on real work. The room erupted in nervous laughter. My cheeks burned hot as I closed my laptop, trying to keep my expression neutral. I noticed our HR representative sitting quietly in the corner, saying nothing. Then I saw something else. Kyle, our intern, was still recording the meeting on his tablet. His eyes met mine briefly before he looked away. That afternoon, I sat at my desk staring blankly at my screen. The humiliation still sat heavy in my chest. I had worked weekends, skipped social events, and poured my energy into that tool. And Grant had dismissed it like a child's crayon drawing. My email pinged. It was from an address I didn't recognize. A temporary file-sharing link with no message. My cursor hovered over it for a moment before I clicked. The video loaded. It was the meeting. The entire thing. I watched myself pitch, watched Grant laugh, watched the room follow his lead. But more importantly, I had proof. Video proof of what had happened. The timestamp showed it was from Kyle's tablet. I sat back in my chair, my mind racing. Why would Kyle send me this? We barely knew each other. He kept his head down most days, running errands for the team and taking notes in meetings. But something about that moment, maybe the way Grant had humiliated me so publicly, had pushed him to act. I saved the video to 3 different locations. My personal cloud, an external drive, and a USB stick I locked in my desk drawer. I wasn't sure what I would do with it yet, but I knew it mattered. Evidence always matters. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Grant's laugh in my head. 2 days later, Grant called me into his office. The door clicked shut behind me, and he gestured toward the chair across from his desk. His expression was calm, almost friendly, but something felt wrong. Maya, we need to talk about professionalism, he began, sliding a document across the desk. I think it's time you drop this side project thing and focus on your actual responsibilities. I glanced down. It was a performance improvement plan. Pip. My stomach dropped. I scanned the first page quickly, my eyes catching on a phrase. Insubordination during team meeting on November 14th. That was 2 days ago. The meeting where I pitched my tool. But something didn't add up. The document was dated November 7th, a full week before the meeting ever happened. The metadata at the bottom of the page confirmed it. He had written this pipey before I even opened my mouth. Grant leaned back in his chair, watching me. I just need you to take this seriously, Maya. Sign at the bottom, and we'll move forward. I kept my face blank, but inside my pulse hammered. He had planned this. He had already decided to push me out before I ever pitched anything. The meeting was just his excuse. Can I take some time to review this? I asked quietly. He frowned slightly but nodded. Sure. Bring it back tomorrow. I left his office with the document in hand, my mind already spinning. That evening my phone buzzed. 'Twas Kyle. I think you should see this Slack thread. He sent me a screenshot. Then another. And another. My hands started shaking as I read through them. It was a private Slack channel called Q2 Wins. Grant had pasted images from my presentation deck, The same one he had mocked publicly. Underneath he had written, "Planning to present this at the VP Summit next month. Solid concept. Needs polish, but it'll land well." I scrolled further. There was more. Messages where Grant joked about my background, calling me the one who's here for vibes, not skills. Another where he made fun of my degree from a state school instead of some fancy private university. He was planning to steal my idea, present it as his own. And he had already started setting me up to fail with that PIP so I wouldn't be around to challenge him. Kyle sent one more message. "I'm sorry. I didn't know if I should say anything, but this felt wrong." I stared at the screenshots for a long time. Then I carefully exported every single image, backed them up, and sent copies to my personal email. I didn't send anything to HR. Not yet. Instead, I forwarded everything to my friend Olivia, who happened to be a lawyer. Her response came fast. "This is gold. Don't move yet. Let's talk tomorrow." The next morning, HR called me in for a meeting. I sat across from Patricia, the same HR rep who had been silent during Grant's public mockery. She folded her hands on the desk and gave me a practiced smile. "Maya, we want to make sure you're feeling supported. Grant mentioned some concerns about your focus, and we want to help you succeed." I kept my expression neutral. "I appreciate that. I'd like to request 30 days to meet a new set of KPIs. If I hit them, can we revisit the PIP?" Patricia blinked, clearly surprised. She glanced at her notes. "That's reasonable. Let me document this and run it by Grant." She typed quickly, and I watched her add my request to the file. The clock was officially ticking. 30 days. I had 30 days to build something Grant couldn't ignore and couldn't steal. As I left the office, I pulled out my phone and texted Mia, an old client contact from my previous job. We had worked together on a pilot program 2 years ago, and she had always respected my work. My message was simple. Hypothetically, if a tool could cut overtime by 15% in 4 weeks, would you pilot it at a couple of locations? Her response came 10 minutes later. "Yes. If you can prove it works, I'll sign a letter of intent. When can we talk?" I smiled for the first time in days. That night I called Olivia. We spent 2 hours going over my employment contract line by line. There was a clause about conflicting business interests, but it was vague. It banned working for competitors, not building something independently using public data. "Here's the play," Olivia said. "Build it clean. No company hardware, no company code, no company time. Nights and weekends only. Rename the tool so it's clearly separate. If they come after you, we'll argue it's a proof of concept using publicly available resources." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. What if they try to claim ownership anyway? Then we show the timeline. You built this before they even knew about it. You have the Git commits, the timestamps, everything. Just keep it clean, Maya. No shortcuts. I hung up and opened my laptop. I spun up a cheap cloud instance for $9 a month and started fresh. I rebuilt the tool from scratch using a public dataset of POS exports. I named it Turnkey. Clean room rules. No overlap with anything from work. Felt like starting over, but it also felt right. This was mine. Completely mine. 2 days later, Kyle sent me another message. His hands were shaking in the photo he sent. "Grant asked me to scrub your Git history. He wants me to copy your repo and change the authorship. What do I do?" My blood ran cold. I met Kyle at a coffee shop the next morning before work. He looked pale, like he hadn't slept. He kept glancing over his shoulder as if someone might overhear us. "I don't want to do anything illegal," he said quietly. "But he's my boss. If I say no, I'm worried he'll fire me." I leaned forward. "Kyle, listen to me. Don't do anything that makes you uncomfortable. But if you want to help, here's what you can do. Export an audit trail. Git keeps logs of everything. Every clone, every commit, every access. Just pull the logs and save them somewhere safe. He nodded slowly. Okay. I can do that. 2 hours later he sent me the logs. My hand shook as I opened the file. There it was, clear as day. Grant had cloned my private repository the same night I pitched in the stand-up meeting. He had accessed my code, copied it, and started modifying it. The timestamps didn't lie. I finally had a complete timeline. The PIP written before the meeting. The Slack thread planning to steal my work. The Git logs showing actual theft. It was all there, piece by piece, building a case I couldn't lose. I saved everything in a folder labeled Evidence and encrypted it. Then I did something that felt risky but necessary. I sent Grant an email. Per your request, I've paused all side work to focus on my performance plan. Looking forward to hitting these KPIs. I watched the read receipt pop up. 2 minutes later he replied. Good. Let's stay focused. He thought he had won. A week later, Grant moved his VP Summit presentation up by 2 weeks. The calendar invite hit my inbox with a note. Town Hall, Innovation Spotlight, hosted by Grant Sullivan. I stared at the screen. He was moving faster than I expected. He wanted to present my idea before I had a chance to make noise. Smart but not smart enough. I printed the calendar invite and added it to my evidence folder. Then I stuck a post-it note on my monitor with a number. 28. Every day I changed it. 27, 26, 25. It was a countdown, a reminder that I had a deadline. 22 days Mia came through. She sent me anonymized data from 2 of her retail locations. Clean data. No personal information, no proprietary insights. Just raw shift patterns and overtime logs. I plugged the data into Turnkey and let it run overnight. By morning the results were clear. The model had identified shift overlap waste worth $42,000 per quarter across just 2 stores. My heart raced as I sent Mia the report. Her response was immediate. This is incredible. Can you roll it out live? Then Grant sent a message to our entire team Slack channel. Heads up everyone. I'm rolling out a pilot scheduling tool across 5 stores next week. Exciting stuff. 5 stores. He was moving fast. Too fast. I took a deep breath and replied to Mia. Let's go live Friday night. I pushed Turnkey live at Mia's 2 stores late Friday evening. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I monitored the system, watching data flow in real time. Managers could see shift overlaps instantly, adjust schedules on the fly, and eliminate waste before it happened. By Monday morning, overtime had dropped 11%. By Wednesday it hit 14%. Store managers started sending Mia messages begging for access. She forwarded them to me with a single line. You're on to something big. She drafted a letter of intent. If I could hit 15% savings over 4 weeks, she'd sign a contract for 6 months with an upfront payment. Meanwhile, Grant's 5-store pilot crashed spectacularly. Payroll systems went down. Employees missed hours. Shifts doubled up, leaving some workers scheduled for 20-hour days while others got nothing. Reddit threads started popping up with angry employees posting screenshots of their broken schedules. One post went semi-viral. My company's new scheduling system just destroyed my paycheck. Is this legal? I watched the chaos unfold from my desk, keeping my face carefully neutral. Grant paced around the office, phone pressed to his ear, trying to put out fires. Then something unexpected happened. Kyle quietly uploaded the video of Grant mocking me to the company's anonymous feedback portal. Within hours it was everywhere. The video spread like wildfire through the company. People watched Grant laugh at my idea, then watched his pilot fail in real time. The optics were brutal. Employees started whispering in hallways. Slack channels buzzed with speculation. Grant panicked. He scheduled an emergency culture reset meeting for the entire department. In the invite, he wrote about respect, collaboration, and supporting each other's ideas. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Then my phone buzzed. A direct message from Grant. Hey Maya. I think we got off on the wrong foot. We should collaborate on the VP presentation. Your insights could be valuable. I read the message 3 times. He was trying to pull me back in. Make it look like a team effort so he could still claim credit. I accepted the calendar invite for a pre-meeting discussion. Then I sent myself an email recap. Per Grant's idea to co-present my prototype turnkey at the upcoming VP Summit, I'm happy to collaborate. Looking forward to aligning on messaging. CC'd him. Paper trail established. His response was immediate. Let's chat about this tomorrow. But the next morning he cancelled our one-on-one. An hour later I got a forwarded email. Grant had sent my recap to legal with a single word. Ignore. He was trying to bury it. Too late. I had already saved everything. That afternoon Patricia from HR called me back into her office. Her expression was tight, and she didn't waste time with pleasantries. Maya, we need to escalate your performance improvement plan. You're not meeting expectations, and we need to see immediate progress. She slid a new document across the desk. The KPI requirements had changed. They were now impossible to hit unless I used Turnkey's insights in my daily work, which I absolutely would not do. That would give the company a claim to my tool. If you miss any KPI this week, we'll have to move forward with termination, Patricia said quietly. I stared at the paper. This was it. They were pushing me out before the VP Summit. Grant wanted me gone so there'd be no one to challenge his story. I walked back to my desk in a daze. My hands shook as I opened a blank document and started typing my resignation letter. 2 paragraphs in, I stopped. My cursor blinked on the screen. Whoa. I wasn't done yet. I deleted the draft and opened my laptop. At 2 a.m. I was still awake, refining Turnkey's dashboard and prepping for my next move. If they wanted me out, I'd leave on my terms. Not theirs. The next day, Mia introduced me to her CEO on a Zoom call. I had 15 minutes to make an impression. I opened Turnkey's live dashboard and walked them through the data. Shift overlaps highlighted in red. Efficiency gains marked in green. Real-time savings tracking. The CEO leaned closer to his camera. How fast can you scale this? 2 weeks if I incorporate and dedicate full-time resources, I said. He glanced at Mia, then back at me. We'll prepay $50,000 for 6 months if you can onboard our other locations in that time frame. Does that work? My heart hammered in my chest. $50,000. A real contract. A real business. Yes, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. That works. The call ended, and I sat in silence for a full minute. Then I called Olivia. File the LLC, I said. Right now. She laughed. I'm already on it. Congratulations, Maya. By sunrise, the paperwork was submitted. Turnkey Solutions LLC officially existed. I was no longer just an employee with a side project. I was a business owner. Now I just had to survive the next 24 hours at my old job. I did something risky. I scheduled a private pre-read meeting with Grant under the guise of collaboration. I titled it, Turnkey Walkthrough and Alignment. When he arrived, I slid a document across the table. Before we go any further, I need you to sign this mutual NDA. It protects both of us and ensures we're aligned on confidentiality. Grant barely glanced at it. He scribbled his signature at the bottom and pushed it back toward me. Sure, whatever. Let's see what you've got. I walked him through the basics. Enough to seem collaborative, not enough to give him anything useful. He nodded along, taking notes, already planning how to spin this. What he didn't know was that Clause 7 of that NDA explicitly barred him from using any of my materials without written attribution and compensation. Olivia had buried it in legal jargon that looked standard but was anything but. The next day, I got a calendar alert. VP Summit Rehearsal. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. My stomach twisted. This was it. The moment everything would either fall apart or come together. I spent that night rehearsing in front of my bathroom mirror, playing out every possible scenario. Then I packed my laptop bag with everything I needed, including the video file. The rehearsal room was packed. The VP sat at the head of the table, flanked by senior leaders. Grant stood at the front with a confident smile. His laptop connected to the projector. He launched into his presentation. Slide after slide, I watched him showcase my UI screenshots, my data models, my efficiency breakdowns. He had cropped out anything identifiable, but it was unmistakably mine. I let him finish. The room clapped politely. The VP nodded, making notes. Then I raised my hand. Can I add some context? Grant's smile faltered. Sure. Go ahead. I stood and opened my laptop. I connected it to the projector. The screen flickered, and suddenly the room was watching the stand-up meeting video. Grant's mocking laughter echoed through the speakers. The room went silent. Pause the video. This is the idea Grant is presenting. The one he publicly ridiculed 3 weeks ago. I advanced to the next slide, the NDA he had signed. And this is the agreement he signed yesterday, barring him from using my work without attribution or compensation. The VP's expression shifted. Grant's face turned red. No one spoke. The VP finally broke the silence. Maya, bring your deck tomorrow. Full presentation. We'll reconvene. I nodded, closed my laptop and walked out. My hands were shaking, but I had done it. No one acknowledged what happened in the rehearsal. The office felt tense the next morning, like everyone was holding their breath. My impossible KPIs still loomed over me. Patricia hadn't called, but I knew it was only a matter of time. That afternoon everything exploded. News outlets picked up the story of Grant's failed pilot. An angry Reddit thread tagged the company directly, and employees piled on with their own horror stories. Payroll disasters, mischief, system crashes. PR issued an immediate order. Roll back the pilot. Stores scrambled to return to their old scheduling systems. The damage was done, but the company was desperate to stop the bleeding. I sat at my desk watching it all unfold in real time. My phone buzzed constantly with Slack notifications, but I ignored them. I had more important things to focus on. That night, Miyaso finalized the contract. $50,000 hit escrow. I stared at the confirmation email for a long time, barely believing it was real. The next morning, I drafted my resignation letter. 2 weeks' notice, professional and polite. I offered to transition my work to ensure no disruption. I hit send at 9 a.m. Grant's response came at 9:03. Effective immediately. Badge disabled. Security will escort you out. He thought he was cutting me off. He thought he'd won. He had no idea what was coming. I walked out of the building with my box of personal items, my head held high. Security had been polite but firm. Grant watched from his office window as I left, arms crossed, that same smug look on his face. But by the time I got home, my new LLC bank account pinged with a notification. The $50,000 had cleared. Turnkey Solutions was officially funded and operational. I spent the rest of the day onboarding Mia's 2 stores into the full system. By the end of week 4, overtime savings hit 19%. Managers were thrilled. Employees were happier. The system worked exactly as I had promised. Then something unexpected happened. My old work email, which was set to auto-forward to my personal account, received a message from someone inside the company. We desperately need a scheduling solution on our floor by Friday. Our current system is a disaster. Can you help? I checked the signature. It was the operations director from Grant's own division. I smiled and replied from my new business domain. Happy to discuss. Here's our rate card. The irony was almost too perfect. The operations director, named Blake, scheduled a vendor call within 24 hours. When I joined the Zoom meeting, I immediately noticed Grant's name on the participant list. My stomach flipped, but I kept my face neutral. Blake started the meeting. Thanks for joining, Maya. We're in a critical situation. The scheduling pilot caused a major issue with one of our largest retail partners. They're threatening to cancel a $2.4 million contract unless we fix the mess immediately. Grant joined the call 5 minutes late. His face froze when he saw me on the screen. Blake didn't even pause. We've heard great things about Turnkey from other locations. We need to move fast. Can you help us? I kept my voice professional. Absolutely. We can have a solution deployed within a week. I'll need access to your current scheduling data and direct communication with store managers. Blake nodded quickly. Done. Whatever you need. Grant finally spoke, his voice tight. Blake, are we sure about bringing in an external vendor for this? Blake's expression hardened. Grant, we go with Maya's firm or we lose the retailer. Those are our options. Someone from legal chimed in on the call. We're approved to fast-track external vendors if the VP signs off. I'll get that moving today. The meeting ended 10 minutes later. I closed my laptop and sat back, barely believing what had just happened. The VP signed the emergency vendor agreement within 48 hours. It was a 90-day contract with the option to extend. Turnkey was officially hired to fix the disaster Grant had created. I worked around the clock that first week, plugging the leaks in their scheduling system. I rebuilt their data pipelines, cleaned up their shift templates, and implemented real-time monitoring. Store managers watched the system stabilize in real time. Overtime dropped, and employees stopped complaining. By day 6, the major retailer pulled back their cancellation threat. Blake sent me an email with the subject line, "You saved us." But the best part came in a follow-up message from the COO. For the full rollout, we need the vendor to embed an internal liaison. Someone who can coordinate directly with store managers, implement your playbooks, and handle daily stand-ups. I read the next line 3 times to make sure I wasn't imagining it. We've assigned Grant Sullivan as your internal liaison. He'll report to you on all Turnkey deliverables. I sat back in my chair and laughed. Really laughed. The same man who had mocked my idea, tried to steal it, and pushed me out of the company was now being assigned to work for me. The first meeting with Grant as my internal liaison was awkward. He joined the Zoom call exactly on time. His face stiff and unreadable. I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way he avoided direct eye contact with the camera. I kept my tone professional. Grant, thanks for joining. Here's how this is going to work. You'll implement the playbooks I send over, run daily stand-ups with the store managers, and log any blockers in the system. Every day, I'll need a summary report by 5 p.m. He nodded slowly. Understood. Continued. I have 3 simple rules. First, document everything. Second, cite your sources when you're referencing data or decisions. Third, no mocking teammates on calls. Respect is non-negotiable. His jaw tightened, but he nodded again. Got it. Blake, who was also on the call, added, "Just so we're clear, Grant, your performance review for this quarter will be based entirely on Turnkey deliverables. This is your priority." I watched Grant's face. He looked smaller somehow. The smugness was gone, replaced by something that almost looked like regret. The call ended and I closed my laptop. Felt surreal. I was now managing the man who had tried to destroy me. The first 2 weeks were tense. Grant followed the playbooks to the letter, but there was a stiffness to every interaction. He logged his reports on time, attended every stand-up, and never pushed back on my instructions. But in week 3 something shifted. He sent me a private message. "Can we talk? Off the record." I stared at the message for a moment before replying. "We're not off the record, Grant. We're on the project record. If you need to discuss something, let's do it in a logged meeting." He agreed. We scheduled a call. When his face appeared on my screen, he looked tired. "Maya, I owe you an apology. What I did was wrong. The way I treated you in that meeting, the things I said on Slack trying to take credit for your work, it was all wrong. I didn't say anything. I just waited." He continued. "I let my ego get in the way. I thought I needed to be the one with all the big ideas to prove I belonged in that role. But I was wrong. You built something incredible, and I tried to tear you down because I felt threatened." Took a breath. "I appreciate you saying that. But apologies don't undo what happened. What matters now is how you move forward." He nodded. "I know. I'm trying. We finished the rollout 2 weeks later. Overtime savings across all locations hit 21%. Employees were happier. Managers had better tools. The system worked. Just as we wrapped up the initial rollout, the company dropped a bombshell. They were being acquired by a major retail conglomerate. The news hit the internal channels first, then went public within hours. The new parent company had strict operational standards. One of their first moves was to audit all scheduling systems across their portfolio and standardize on a single vendor platform. Blake called me on a Friday afternoon. Maya, the parent company wants to evaluate Turnkey for the entire network. If it passes their review, you're looking at a 2-year master services agreement. My hands went numb. How many locations are we talking about? 340 stores across 6 states, Blake said. This is big. The evaluation process took 3 weeks. I presented to their operations team, walked them through live demos, and answered hundreds of technical questions. They stress-tested the system, ran security audits, and compared my pricing to competitors. In the end, they chose Turnkey. The contract was worth more than I had ever imagined. The pricing was double what I had charged initially, and it included provisions for ongoing support, feature development, and training. I signed the agreement on a Tuesday morning. By Wednesday, the organizational chart updated across the entire company. Grant's new title appeared in the system: Implementation Manager, Turnkey Program. He reported directly to me as the vendor program manager. The official kickoff meeting was scheduled for the following Monday. I spent the weekend preparing, building a presentation deck that would set the tone for the next 2 years. I included timelines, milestones, team structures, and expectations. When I opened the meeting, over 60 people were on the Zoom call. Store managers, regional directors, operational leads, and Grant. I advanced to the first slide. It displayed the title of my original pitch from that Monday morning stand-up meeting months ago. The same words Grant had mocked. "Let's be serious," I said softly, looking directly into the camera. "Time to work." The chat exploded with enthusiasm. People were excited, ready to get started, and genuinely grateful for the opportunity to fix the broken systems they'd been struggling with. Grant's video thumbnail sat in the corner of my screen. He unmuted briefly. "Yes, Maya. Let's do this." His voice was quiet, sincere. No trace of the arrogance that had defined him months earlier. I smiled to myself and moved to the next slide. Over the following months, the rollout went smoother than I could have hoped. Grant proved to be a dedicated liaison, working long hours to implement the system across dozens of locations. He coordinated with managers, troubleshot issues, and genuinely seemed committed to making things work. One afternoon he sent me a message. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened. I wanted you to know that working on this project has taught me more about leadership than anything else in my career." I read the message twice before responding. "I'm glad you're learning, Grant. That's what matters." There were moments when I thought about how different things could have been. If Grant had supported my idea from the beginning, if he had collaborated instead of competed, we might have built something together. But that wasn't the path we took. Instead, I built Turnkey on my own terms. Proved it worked. I secured clients. And I came back stronger than anyone expected. Mia called me one evening. "You know what I love about this story, Maya? You didn't burn bridges. You didn't get revenge. You just built something better." She was right. I hadn't set out to destroy Grant or humiliate him. I just refused to let his mockery define me. A year after the acquisition, Turnkey had expanded beyond scheduling. We added inventory management features, employee engagement tools, and predictive analytics for demand forecasting. The platform became essential infrastructure for the entire retail network. I hired a small team, including Kyle, the intern who had sent me that first video. He had graduated and was looking for his first real job. When I offered him a position as a junior developer, he almost cried. "You gave me a chance when no one else would," he said. I shook my head. "You gave yourself a chance by doing the right thing. I just recognized it." Grant continued in his role as implementation manager, and over time we developed a functional working relationship. It wasn't friendship, but it was respect. He had learned humility the hard way, and I had learned that success didn't require tearing others down. One day I received a message from Patricia, the HR rep from my old company. "Maya, I wanted to reach out and say I'm sorry. I should have spoken up in that meeting. I should have done more." I appreciated the honesty. "Thank you for saying that, Patricia. It means something. People make mistakes. What matters is whether they learn from them." Today, I'm sitting in my home office, looking out the window at the city skyline. Turnkey Solutions has grown beyond anything I imagined that Monday morning when Grant laughed at my pitch. We have clients across 12 states, a team of 23 people, and partnerships with some of the biggest names in retail. I still think about that moment sometimes. The fluorescent lights, the mocking laughter, the heat in my cheeks. But it doesn't sting anymore. It's just a memory, a reminder of where I started. Grant sent me a message last week. "I'm putting together a case study on Turnkey's success for a leadership conference. Would you be willing to co-present?" I thought about it for a moment, then replied, "Sure. Let's do it." Because the story isn't about revenge. It's not about proving people wrong or making them regret their mistakes. It's about resilience. It's about believing in your work even when no one else does. It's about taking the long road, staying true to your vision, and building something that stands on its own merit. I learned that mockery doesn't define you. Humiliation doesn't define you. What defines you is what you do next. I built something real. I built something that mattered. And in the end, that's the only thing that counts. The manager laughed at my business idea. And now he works for it.